Hi, it's Colleen Schmidt again, and today I really do want to start talking about the asteroids and starting to maybe use them not so much in direct prediction as I've been in my website and so far with the other video clips I've done, but actually these I'd like to make more educational so that we could use these not just in predictive opportunities, but also in an opportunity to work with natal charts and maybe even getting to know ourselves better. As a teacher of astrology, I often comment that sometimes I think the best way to learn is through your own chart. So I thought that I'd start with just some general descriptions. I don't want any of these video clips to be too long. First of all, I'm having a hard time getting them to upload in a timely manner. So I'm going to be keeping it short, but I would like to start off with just, one more selling point about how important it is, I think it is, to utilize all that we have available to us as astrologers, and that includes the idea of using asteroids. I just can't begin to explain to you, unless you've already had the experience yourself, of how much that can be learned, how many details can be applied just by using the asteroids. So they put a whole nother dimension on astrology, and particularly for those of us that are working in medical astrology, I think how detailed they are is almost incredibly mind-blowing. And I think on the medical front, we're all going to be, I hope, eventually hearing a lot more about medical astrology. I hope to promote it. I have already worked with several cases successfully, and I always welcome the opportunity to take on more cases, because the more you do, the better you get. And that's with anything. So today, just to start working with something that people can identify with, I thought that today I would start with the Big Four. And the Big Four would be then Ceres, Vesta, Pallas, and Juno. Okay, but realize that in astrology there's also asteroids referred to Demeter, Hestia, Minerva, and Hera, okay, which are the Greek terms, I believe it's Greek, for the same, in other words, Juno and Hera are both wives. Vesta and Hestia are both what we would call Vestan. It's one of the work goal asteroids. Demeter and Ceres are mothers. So basically, I want you to know and understand how interactive these can be. And there are some others that we're going to be discussing that also fit together, okay? And it's really cool because sometimes they'll both show up, and boy, that's not telling. But it's just a wonderful way to also, when you're doing natal astrology or counseling astrology, it is fabulous to look at both points. Say that somebody's coming to you about patterning or behavior or what they seem to go for in terms of partners. And, maybe they're having relationship difficulties. And so, of course, what would be 2 points to look for immediately would be Hera and Juno, because they both deal with our concept of fairness. They tell us a little bit about who we're attracted to. They tell us a little bit about how we are in partnerships. So I think that, as an astrologer, if you're looking into counseling astrology, you want to use everything you can. I mean, Venus is great, but Venus is also very, it's a broad stroke. When you start talking Juno and Hera, it's kind of a way of paring down, because they're not the broad stroke that Venus would be. Okay, like for example, a Venus aspect could indicate that you're getting compliments. Doubtful you're getting compliments if it's a Juno or Hera aspect, because that's more related to scorekeeping. That's more related to expenses or fairness in relationships. They're more direct, and so this is one of the reasons why they make such a huge difference in our work as astrologers. So I just want to talk about today, just staying with this, how we work as astrologers, and maybe the use of one technique, which might be keywords. So if you're looking at Ceres slash Demeter, because they're all the same, you would be looking at the mother. You would be looking at food, okay, because they're also, both of them are the sickle. Demeter has the ball at the bottom, but they both have the sickle with the cross and, for the handle. And they're both related to wheat. Ceres and Demeter would be related to food. They would be related to our parent-child stuff. Okay, and I'm going to say that every way I can because a lot of us are children of parents, but we're also parents of children. So when you're looking at Demeter, you're going to look across the table because it's going to be all that it can in those relationships. I'm going to move to Vesta, also Hestia, okay, which are two that we use. And they are not just our work goals or our work, like, people with very strong Vesta or Hestia are very goal-oriented. They seem very distant and cold to other people often because they're very focused in what they're doing. And by the way, we all have these things. So it's really kind of cool to kind of just look at them. And I do have articles on the website, divinationcounseling.org, if anybody's interested in reading a little bit further. Again, I try to keep the stuff short and sweet and general. But so that it's easy to digest. But Hestia and Vesta are related to our goals. They're related to our idea of service, of working, not necessarily production. That would be industria, and that would be something different, and we'll get to that. But this would be just, people that are very goal-oriented, people that are very focused in their work, that they then tend to cut off a lot of the other stuff in their life. Vesta is named for the fire burners, the keepers of the fire, the keepers of the flame, as they were known. So think of that in terms of the sisterhood. I mean, that's what those they became nunneries, but the Vestans, okay, that's what they did. They kept the fires burning. Then there was Pallas, and the story of Pallas is that she kind of sold women out. Strategy, okay, so think of Pallas as strategic, okay, so in the case of when I say she sold women out, I joke about that, but it's the idea of pleasing people. It's, she came from her father's head, but she also had this thing where she just didn't, you have to please people. The best people at working their palace might be politicians, okay, because they're going to say everything you want to hear, okay, and that's what Pallas is. But it's also strategy, which again, very applicable in politics, where not only are you watching what you're saying, but you're strategically dropping words, you're strategically planning, setting things up, and that's what Pallas does. She's considered a warrior, but she's more of what I would call a strategic warrior. And the final one I'm going to discuss today is Juno slash Hera, okay? And by the way, Pallas is slash Minerva, okay? So just jumping back there a minute. So there are two strategy asteroids that way. Minerva works the exact same way that Pallas works. And technically, they come out of two different folklores, but they basically, or however you want to look at that, oral history, but they all come out and equal out to the same thing. The last two that I'm doing, Demeter slash Juno, is the wife, the partner. And just to kind of, before I finish up with the wife, the partner, Juno is also referred to for expenses, especially things that are done in payments, but also those unknown expenses. A lot of times, that can be seen through things like Juno. Juno is about fairness in a partnership. I've often heard it said that Juno is more associated with the lover in certain natal configurations, more so than the partner, okay? I don't know how I would technically read that. I think that would depend on the astrology chart itself and what else it was telling me about that relationship, whether it was just a lover, we're never going to get married type thing, a lover that is then also a partner. Is that different than, say, quote, husband or wife? I I don't know. I think, again, that would depend on the individual that you were working with. Okay. All four of these, where I was going to get to, and I want to sum it up with that, all four of these relate to women. I think it's funny because they are the sisters in the zodiac. The big four are the beginning of the asteroid belt, and it came in after Chiron, and it was supposed to, it's all a part of this, you know, a woman's, the healing for women that we do seem to be going through. So I think there is something to that. But just to keep it simple and all based on astrology, they're all the different aspects of being a woman. We all have it, male and female. But it is all the aspects of a woman. The wife, the sister, because Vesta and Hestia are also very associated with that camaraderie, those friendships, okay? The sister. Okay, so we have Juno, Hera, the wife. We have Vesta, Hestia, the sister. Then we have the mother, Demeter and Ceres. The mother, okay, the nurturer, the one who feeds us, okay? And then lastly, the strategic planner or the businesswoman, the executive, the woman who is really good at strategically working as an executive or outside the home as well as inside the home. I mean, there are a lot of women that don't feel fulfilled if they had to stay home all day, and they only feel fulfilled by having to go out and work, and they don't necessarily identify very strongly with any of the domestic front. So those women might have stronger Pallas, Athenas, and or Minervas. Okay, and that's where I'm going to leave it today. I hope I see people come back again. I hope to hear from you all. I would like to discuss 8 asteroids from the original 45 list. That's what we call that. Martha's 45. They realize that we're now working with like 21,000, very close to 21,000 named asteroids. So it gets very complicated, but if you take it in small bites, and you don't necessarily have to run out there and use everything. Not everything applies. I mean, that's one of the things we learned in medical astrology. You kind of want to just stay with that illness. So, because there is so much, it can be overwhelming so quickly. So let's start with small doses. And I hope to see you again. Enjoy, take care, and have a great day.